I'd like to welcome you to our regular Springfield Township trustee meeting. Today is October the 8th, 2019, and it's about 5:34. And we're going to follow the agenda. Can we have the roll call first?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Burney?
Present.
Mr. Harwell?
Present.
Ms. McFarland?
Present.
All trustees are present.
And if we can stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And next on our agenda, approval of our minutes. We had a regular session September the 10th, 2019, and we also had a regular work session on September the 24th, 2019. Need a motion?
So moved. Seconded.
Any discussion?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And next on our agenda, Mr. Burning, Fiscal Officer Financial Report.
Yes, Ms. McFarland. For the month ending September 30th, 2019, the township expenditures were $2,345,459.02. Receipts were $1,785,274.49. Excuse me. The ending cash balance of $22,135,732.60 includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvements, and investments. What I do request is a motion to approve the receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, update and current revenue and reports for the period ending September 30th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And I just want everyone to know financial reports are available for viewing at the administrative offices during regular business hours or on our website anytime. Thank you. Ms. McFarland.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, basically, is departmental actions and discussion items, and I'd like to turn the meeting now over to Mr. Gilbert, our Township Administrator.
Thank you, Ms. McFarland. This evening I just had a couple action items for the board to consider. The first is what we're referring to as the Mount Healthy Salt Agreement. As the board is aware, in the previous, I don't know how many years, probably 4, 5, 6 years, we've had an agreement with the city of Mount Healthy to sell them salt at a cost that it would be to us to replenish that salt. So it isn't the price that we paid for it initially, it's the price for us to replenish that in the proceeding year. And it's the standard agreement that we've had in place for several years. So I would just ask the board to consider a motion to authorize the administrator to execute that agreement.
So moved. Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
The next agreement is very similar in the sense that it's the same agreement we've had for several years. This is with Waycross Community Media for them to provide media services for the township to record our meetings, publish them to the web, as well as produce them on the various public access channels. Additionally, it allows for some additional time for them to come out and film various events throughout the township. The price is just $1,000 more per year than it was in the previous years, and this would be a 2-year agreement at $26,000 or $27,000 per year.
27.
$26,000 per year. Actually, it's 27.
27.
It was 26 last year. So, unless there are any questions, everything else is the same regarding this agreement that we've had in place for several years now. I would ask for the board to pass a motion authorizing me to sign that agreement.
So moved. Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Sticking with the theme of authorizing me to sign agreements, the next one is with the Hamilton County Engineers Office. As the board is aware, through the Community Improvement Corporation, the neighborhood of Covered Bridge received a neighborhood enhancement grant through the CIC authorizing them to place lights on the covered bridge that actually is utilized to enter that neighborhood. This agreement with the County Engineers Office essentially is stating that the township, by putting lights on the bridge, will be responsible for those lights. Given the fact that the bridge is county owned and maintained, they want to ensure that the lights we're placing on it would be our responsibility. So I would just ask that the board authorize me to sign that agreement with the county engineer's office.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And it's that time of year again where we will set the date and time for Halloween. I think it's customary that we've done is obviously on the day itself, October 31st, between 6 and 8 p.m. With the footnote that if it is storming outside, then parents use their best judgment to determine whether their kids want to go outside. But for us, Halloween will be October 31st, 6 to 8 p.m. That's what we're recommending. If the board agrees with that, I would entertain a motion to set the date for Halloween as
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I know everybody thinks it's silly that Chris brought that up, but sometimes if it rains or things, people are mad that we didn't cancel it or whatever, but sometimes it's raining in one part of the township, it's not raining in another, so we'll have it from 6 to 8, and if the weather prohibits it, please keep your children at home.
we've actually got calls that if my kid goes out and gets hurt, are you going to be responsible for that? And no. That was your decision as parent.
That's right.
Well, we've had some years that snowed.
I remember once it snowed.
The last action item I have is we have an application on behalf of Ken Anderson Alliance for a piece of property actually at the corner of Compton and Daly Road for a land use plan amendment. That proposed hearing date, we're proposing October 30th at 5:30 p.m. If that works for the board, I would ask for a motion to set the date and time for that land use plan amendment hearing for the 30th at 5:30.
So moved.
That works for me.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I appreciate it. Lastly, going to the discussion items. First, I'll turn it over to Kathleen Kennedy to talk about the Duke Energy Foundation grant that we received for our Business Matters program.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. I just wanted to briefly announce that the township received a grant funded by the Duke Energy Foundation. The grant was applied for actually on the township's behalf by HCDC, which is the county's economic development agent. So HCDC applied to the Duke Energy Foundation to fund HCDC's Small Business Assistance Program. And so we were awarded that funding for 6 months, and what that is HCDC has some consultants within their organization who will place outreach calls to businesses in the township to obtain just their general input and kind of get a sense for the business climate here in the township, but then also includes some business coaching, which is completely confidential and then free to the small business. So, for example, if a small business wanted help with a social media marketing plan or someone to help with checking their financials, they would help with that. So I'm excited to meet with some businesses and kind of get the information out there, but that'll be funded from January to June of 2020. So, that's it.
Very good.
That is fantastic. Great.
Next, it is National Fire Prevention Week, so I will turn it over to the expert and let Assistant Chief Bro explain to us what that means and what we're doing in celebration of that.
So, usually the second week of October is declared National Fire Prevention Week by the NFPA, National Fire Protection Association. We kind of drift through the whole month, though. We send letters in September to all the elementary schools to see if we can get into the schools and visit, along with Scouts, Girl Scouts, Cub Scouts, things of that nature. So we will hopefully be busy throughout the month making our visits.
Great. Thank you. I know I've seen on our social media outlets, your guys out at various elementary schools and daycares and preschools, educating kids on fire safety, so appreciate the efforts.
Can our citizens, do you still hand out the carbon monoxide, yes, detectors?
No, we used to get all that from Red Cross. They've had some budget issues. They do on occasion give us smoke detectors to give out, but on a national level, they've restructured some of that stuff, so just smoke detectors at the current time.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the clarification.
Next on the agenda, I have the personnel update, and it's really brief, no activity. We had no hirings or resignations or anything in the previous month, so that's fairly unusual that we have no activity at all, but none.
Yeah.
Next, I'll turn it over to Kim for community events and programs.
Thank you. This Friday, we have our final Beers and Gears event, which is an evening event, 7 o'clock p.m. We have an acoustic band, Mad Tree Beer Truck, cars for show. It's a fun, free event. On October the 25th, Playhouse in the Park is coming to the Grove Event Center. That's our annual event where kids dress up in Halloween costumes, and then we're doing the play, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane. That event is free. It's at 7 o'clock p.m. On November the 8th, we are doing a theater production down at Mount Healthy High School Theater. It's a collaboration actually with Mount Healthy High School. So this particular program is called Iconic Ladies of Motown. It's a little bit of the lyrics behind the music, and they are working with the high school choir to be a part of that show. It's actually coming together really, really fantastic. It's amazing. Then December 7th and December 8th is Winterfest. We'll start off with Breakfast with Santa, which is a new program added to Winterfest on December 7th, and then the 2-day Winterfest will go through Sunday. The only other thing that I've got is that on October the 23rd, both Arts Connect and the Grove Event Center were listed as finalists for Cincy Magazine's Best of North, and we will have a voting on that final day down at the Manor House in Mason.
With the Winterfest, we'll have vendors that can, as normally, bring their products that they make or sell.
One of the aspects of Winterfest is over at the Art Center. That is an art craft vendor fair. We have 25 booth spaces for artists, crafters, and vendors to sell their items. We've got, I think, 8 booth spaces that are left.
Oh, my goodness.
25, yeah.
So Kim, are you promising good weather this year?
Yes. No horizontal rain this year. It's going to be 60 and beautiful.
That'd be nice.
60.
It's been 60 the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It's just was sideways rain last year.
Yeah.
And 60.
Pretty brutal. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks, Kim. Lastly, the board has copies of the departmental activity reports, and unless there are any questions of those, that concludes my report.
Okay. Well, we're down to the resolutions. The first resolution is Resolution Number 98, 2019, declaring nuisances pursuant to the Ohio Revised Code, Section 505.87, at various listed properties within Springfield Township, and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Need a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next resolution is number 99, 2019, establishing assessment for abatement of nuisance and certifying same to the Hamilton County Auditor.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And the next resolution is number 100, 2019, supplemental appropriations within the General Fund, Gasoline Tax Fund, Fire District Fund, Road District Fund, Task Force Grant Fund, and the Public Improvement Tax Increment Equivalent Fund.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is number 101, 2019, authorizing sale by internet action of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in the police department.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is number 102, 2019, declaring motor vehicles located on public or private property in Springfield Township, Hamilton County, Ohio, to be junk motor vehicles pursuant to Revised Code 505.173, and ordering the removal of such vehicles pursuant to Resolution Number 80, 2012, and Revised Code 505.871.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And the next resolution is number 103, 2019, authorizing a policy to pick up the statutorily required employee contributions to the Ohio Public Employees Retirement System pursuant to the IRC Section 414H and 2, parentheses H and 2.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
The next resolution is number 104, 2019, a resolution clarifying Springfield Township's policy, which was previously enacted by resolution number 17-1984 to pick up the statutory required contributions to the Ohio Public Employees Retirement System for the employees of Springfield Township pursuant to Internal Revenue Code Section 414, parentheses H and parentheses 2.
So moved.
Seconded.
Mr. Burning.
Aye.
Mr. Honalaw.
Aye.
Ms. McFarland.
Aye, and I might add those last two are requirements by,
Right.
and following the OPERS guidelines.
Right.
Resolution carries.
Okay? Old business. Anyone have any old business?
No old business tonight.
No, but I know you're going to talk about our friend.
I would just like to say that Springfield Township has lost a great person. He was one of the Tuskegee Airmen, and his name is Sergeant Leslie Edwards. And his going home celebration was well received, and I was so happy to see a lot of our Springfield Township residents there. He also is the individual that we named the bridge right on his street across Mockingbird, right. So again, he really has been, was a really great community advocate, and he also attended the Unitarian Church, and so a lot of his fellow parishioners were there as well to say a few public words as well. So we lost a great person.
He was an inspiration to a lot of people.
He was definitely an inspiration, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And one thing, he was in his 90s, and he could do the electric slide better than I could. I couldn't even catch up with the man, so I'm sure he did the electric slide, and he made his transition. He was a great person. So, new business. Does anyone have any new business?
I don't have any this
I do
evening.
not, Glenn.
Okay, I just have one item, and in our last meeting, there was some of our citizens from Seven Hills community came and raised concerns regarding some of the issues that they have in their community. And I had said that I would do some research and try to get to the bottom of it to the best of our ability. And so what I did was pull some of the data, and in the past 3 years, Springfield Township has invested $70,000 in park improvements in that community, including new playground equipment, new sidewalk and green space, and new wildflower fields. So the other thing that we've invested $123,000 in road and sidewalk improvements in the Seven Hills in the past 3 years as well. Of all the property maintenance complaints, and I know that was an issue, a point of discussion, that the township has received in the past year, only 8% were in Seven Hills, in the Seven Hills community. And just a reminder, we have 11 neighborhoods in Springfield Township. So when you look at globally with 11 neighborhoods, 8%, is a small number. So in the past year, Springfield Township has assessed $9,135 to property owners as a result of nuisance abatements. And of the 112 property maintenance codes opened in Seven Hills in the past year, 1/4 were related to CMHA or Housing Choice Voucher recipients, which basically means that 75% of the cases open were regular property owners. And so I had said that I would meet with them. I did meet with them and share some, that I would meet with them and prepare and help them be prepared to go to CMHA to express their concerns about CMH housing in their community. And I do plan to do that, and we're setting up meetings now, so we'll be happy to meet with the community again and accompany them, prepare them and accompany them to a CMHA meeting so that they can be prepared to express their concerns. However, based on the data, I hesitate to put all of the blame on CMHA or housing choice voucher recipients when you look at that data, because a lot of the majority of the property owners own their property. And I just wanted to make sure that we have that in the record, that it's not all CMHA. In fact, it's a small percentage of individuals who are under the CMHA guidelines, as well as the housing choice vouchers as well. So I will be meeting with them at the end of this month, and one of the things that the chief and I will be meeting with them as well, just to continue to address concerns and working on preparing them and helping them to put together their proposal and raising their concerns to CMHA regarding their concerns, and as well as the housing choice vouchers. But the data reflects that only 8% seems to be related to those incidents. So I just wanted to share that and set the record straight as well.
Well, and I was at that meeting with you, Glenn, and you did share a lot of that information with them, and they were very surprised by the fact that only 25% of it was non-homeowners. So, you know, they need to be a little more accountable. The homeowners need to be a little more accountable.
Right.
Not just CMHA.
Right. And I've said this multiple times. Some of the homes that I've gone into that were vouchers, their homes were cleaner than mine at times. So I just want to set the record straight from that perspective. Thank you. That's all I have. Now comes the time in our program, our meeting, where we have citizens' participation. And I would just ask that any citizen that wishes to share information with us, that anyone else in the audience, if they could abstain from any conversation so that we can listen to what the person is stating at the podium and be able to address those issues as well. So do we have anyone here this evening that would like to address the Springfield Township trustees? Hi, Robin.
Hi, Robin. Robin Hindley, 6341 Ridgefield Drive. Two hats. First, Finneytown Civic Association. This Sunday night at 7 will be the annual Meet the Candidates night. It will be a shorter one than normal. There's not much on the ballot in terms of different races. We do have the judges race running, but because 99% of the township will be voting on the District 3 candidate who's unopposed, he won't be here. So we've got the school board issues, the school board members, trustees race. We've shortened it to 8:30, so hopefully it won't be a late evening for everybody. There's a number of issues on the ballot. I'll have a table with copies of what the ballot language is going to look like. One's a Hamilton County Services Levy. We've got one through I believe, to developmentally disabled, and these are, what we've got on the ballot are renewals. There's nothing new with the exception of the Finneytown School District bond levy and combined operational levies, so that will be the only one. I'll have printed items there and can answer some general questions anyone might have, but we probably won't do a specific presentation on those. Anyone's welcome to join. You don't have to be a member. This year, though, we will be in room A back in the building, the senior center, instead of downstairs in room C. So you're welcome to join us, and hopefully we can film it and then we'll put it up on YouTube for those that can't attend.
League of Women Voters?
I'm sorry?
Will you have anyone there from the League of Women Voters?
Not this year. With the limited amount that was on the ballot and being all renewals, it was fairly self-explanatory, so we didn't ask them to come this year.
Robin, what was the start time on that?
It'll be at 7 p.m. We've got the room reserved only till 8:30. Because of the shortness of it, we're going to give the school board candidates and the trustee candidates a little bit of a longer time, but we won't have the issues and the others. And as I said, the only district or the only precincts, D and T, that are going to be voting for another judge district from District 6, it makes up probably less than 5% of the voters in the township. So being that they were unopposed races, they're not going to come and present anything. Other item, as a resident, I wanted to check and find out, and I know I sound like a broken record, What is the status of doing something and putting teeth on people that are parking in their yards? 3 weeks ago Sunday on Hempstead, there were 27 cars parked in their front yards. The street looked like a slum. I've got 2 houses on my street. They're fairly new residents, one 6260 Ridgefield, the other one 6240. Depending on who gets up to go to work first, depends on what car's sitting in the front yard at night. It looks terrible on the street, and now what it's done is it's encouraged people down at the cul-de-sac, because there's 3 people down there have too many cars, now they're parking in their yards. I'm tired of it. It makes the neighborhoods look awful, and frankly, with the dryness we've had, if there's ever been a fire in any of those yards on my street, you're going to have every street go like dominoes because they're too close together. I understand that there's something in the zoning code that, where you can put some teeth in it. I wish you would look at that and start citing people and telling them they need to park in their driveways. Because now, in addition to parking in the yards down on the cul-de-sac, they're parking on the wrong way on the street, on the side where the fire hydrants are. I saw 2 of them on my way down here tonight. It's just getting out of control. Is there anything that can be done?
Do you want me to take?
Yes, would you, Chris?
Yeah, Robin, you and I, obviously, over the past, I don't know how many years, decade, we've talked about this to some degree. The issue, and Laura, please jump in here. The issue is the way the zoning laws are written, and in particular how our zoning code is set up, is that it's a minor misdemeanor, which means we can't go out and cite people. We have to send them to court. Fines have to be levied by Hamilton County Municipal Court. So what happens is, in situations that are easily resolved, like parking in the yard, what I mean easily resolved is, if we send in somebody out and say, hey, you can't park your car in the yard, and they move it, well, now that first issue, the initial violation has been resolved. If the next day we come out and the car is parked in the yard again, that doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't abate the first violation. That means that there's a new violation. So how do we resolve it? That's a good question, Robin, and I'd be disingenuous if I told you I know the answer to it.
Well, I thought that the township had some measures. Now, maybe it wasn't for zoning, maybe it was property maintenance.
Property
where-
maintenance.
Where you could accelerate that and take them into court.
Property maintenance would allow you to go out and issue civil citations. The problem is, parking a car in a yard cannot be covered, at least in my mind, under the property maintenance sections. It may be able to, I don't know, it'd be difficult, it's a stretch. I think the only way to have it resolved, and this is where I'm going to defer to Laura, is that if we could adopt maybe a home rule resolution that prohibits that activity, it would be only then that we could actually go out and issue civil citations. And I say we, I mean the police department's the only ones authorized to do that. We could issue civil citations. The issue then is, though, how does that fall with under a criminal code if it's on private property versus the right-of-way from a parking standpoint? Right. So it's a more complex, the issue, the resolution of it in terms of fixing it, moving the car is easy. People just don't do it. The legal aspects of enforcing something and crafting a law within Ohio law that allows us to do that is far more complex. And I'm not going to pretend to understand exactly how to do it. It's an issue. So I'm not saying that's not a problem. We're just going to ignore it. We obviously go out and tell people to move their car. The issue is the repeat violations, which these are, because they're the same people. These aren't different people all the time doing it. So they're the same people. The problem is they know the game. And how do we fix it? I think the only way is via some kind of home rule resolution, and I don't even know if that's legally possible.
Well, the issue is we have all of our codes converted to the criminal code now. So we don't have the civil citation issue that we had. The only problem you have is when you take those down to court, to the housing court, their interest is in resolving and abating, as Chris said, abating the problem. So the person will show up, if they show up, as Kathleen will attest, they don't always show up. So we'll send township employees down, sit there in court till it's their turn. The person may or may not be there. It's going to take 6, 7, 8 court appearances before we get it resolved. And they're going to go before the court who sees many other more difficult in the court's mind issue, and they're gonna say, my car's not there anymore. We're gonna say, you're right, your car's not there anymore. They're gonna say, okay, fine. They probably won't find them. If they find them, they'll be chasing after them for the fine. It's elusive from an enforcement standpoint in that, as Chris said, it's each thing is a new violation. And it's one of those things you keep chasing forever. People are gonna do it. It's a lot of resources for something that you can't necessarily solve because you can't bring it. It's not an everyday violation like a zoning issue would be, right? Because once you have that issue, you put a fence in the wrong place, you can bring them to court and it's got some real teeth because every day they have that fence there is a continuing violation. With the parked car, they say, oh, well, I removed it the next day. Okay, then it's a new charge every time. So we can look at it, see if there's anything we can do that's slightly different, if it's a significant problem, and you're saying it is.
Well, what it is it's growing. First, it was Hempstead, and you had a gentleman that lived here. I don't even think he's there anymore, but he was here several times as it got worse and worse. You put a significant investment on that road in Hempstead, and those curbs are breaking down because people are driving up and down their front yards. I've seen them. I've walked it.
Are they parking
Now it's
the whole
spreading.
car in the front yard or just 2 tires in the yard and 2 tires in the street?
Pick one. You got some of that. You got some of them that are literally parking in the front yard, and they're probably not going up in their driveway to do it because they're not parked like this. They're parked like this, which means they're going right over the top of the curbs. Those curbs aren't designed to be holding that kind of weight or constantly. And like I said, it's pretty much the same houses. I've got the list. I've been going up and down there because when I go home, I avoid Winton. I just cut up there and go to Daly, come around the corner to my house. And I see it all the time.
What I would suggest is, you know,
Let's look at it.
between Chief Browder and I and Laura, we look at Ohio law to see if there's a way that we can craft something under the home rule section. Because frankly, I think that's the only way that it's going to give us any real ability to do anything about it. The zoning process and going to housing court is not, it's going to be draining from a resource standpoint, and it's not going to lead to any real results. I'm speaking from experience.
Understood, but it's spreading because
no, I
you see
understand.
people seeing it in other, we have a lot of people coming in, buying homes and renting from inner city. They don't know how to live in a subdivision. They go by what they see. So if they're going back and forth to Kroger's and they're going the back way and see people front in the yard and they got 3 cars, okay, we can park in our front yard here.
And if we need to, you know, speak to state legislators to somewhat broaden the scope of powers that we have under home rule to allow something like this, we can definitely do that. It's not unusual for us to request changes in statute to allow us to do things. So we can definitely do that. But give us some time to try and figure that out from a home rule perspective, because I would rather take our time developing a solution that's going to be lasting than work through the existing channels we have that aren't going to produce any real results.
Well, I'm just thinking maybe if they see something official. I told the police department, I asked them to put a speed monitor on the street. It's been there a little over a month. It's worked wonders at slowing people down. Amazing. Yeah, they even left, it's still, yes, well, you know, I asked if they'd leave it sit there a little bit longer because we've got probably close to 18, 19 kids between infancy up to maybe 15, 16 years old. And there's no reason to go from that one stop sign to another hitting 60 miles an hour. It's stupid.
Take care of it.
But it's been a big improvement. I wish you could leave it there forever. But maybe they see that and think I better chill. Maybe if they've got something official from the township about this parking, maybe they'll knock it off.
I think it would be interesting to look. It's not just on Hempstead. I mean, we've had.
No, it's growing. I've
It's
seen it in
growing.
other
We've
areas.
had neighbors concerned about it in all parts of, not only the township, but other neighborhoods as well. And it is annoying. And then when you hear about, like this morning, from a safety perspective, not in our township, and I want to make sure that's real clear, not in our township. 3 children were hit this morning, you know, on their way to school. And again, you know, we put up the new flashing lights, we put children, there's signs that neighbors are putting now, they're making themselves children at play and et cetera. You put all those items together, and it's just like, it's like it's going over everybody's head. But I do know that from my perspective, it's an eyesore to see a car parked in your front yard. So I understand where you're coming from, and as Chris said, if there's anything that, and Laura as well, if there's anything we can do, we will try to look for opportunities for us to enact something like that, if it's possible.
We'll work on it.
That would be appreciated. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay. Seeing that there's no one else, I'd like to, first of all, thank everyone for coming this evening and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.